Good evening, everyone. So I'm so excited that you stayed with me this far. We've come a very long way. We've seen Module 1, and this is day 5. And today we're going to be talking about a very, very critical component of everything that we've been discussing right from the beginning. So today we're going to be looking at identity, governance, privacy, and compliance. Please fasten your seatbelts as we'll be going straight right into what Module 5 has for us. So in Module 5, we're going to start with authentication and authorization. We're going to look at some things like Azure Active Directory. We're going to talk about MFA, SSO, and conditional access, up to Azure privacy and compliance. So we're going to start right away comparing authentication versus authorization. So I'm sure that you'll agree with me that you've come into certain scenarios where when trying to use your email or social media account and you're being asked to put in a token before you can proceed. A typical scenario would be when you're assessing your bank, when you're making a transfer and they're asking you for to prove if it's you or not. That's authorization. So authorization determines an authenticated person's level of access. It defines which data you can access and what you can do with that data. On the flip side, let's talk about authentication. What is authentication? Authentication is just you're the person that is seeking to access a resource. Okay, so it requires legitimate access credentials. Okay, the base is the basis for creating a secure security and access control principle. So look at both of them. This other one, which is authentication, is in layman's language is you the person that is seeking to access a resource. Meanwhile, on the other side, authorization is a verb, okay, something that you're trying to do. Okay, so let's move forward. So I like to use okay, so I thought I had it. I wanted to use a security key as a typical example for you, but I had it here. Okay, so I have this particular security key. Okay, so there's one particular email address I have. I linked about 5 or 6 other email addresses to it because I don't check often, and messages from there, they get forwarded into that email address. So the truth about it is, even though you have my password, unless you have that my security key, you cannot log into my email. So let's move ahead. Okay, let's talk about multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication provides additional security for your identity by requiring 2 or more elements for full authentication. Okay, so it works with something that you know, and something that you know is something that would always be in your head. Something like your password is something you know, or something like your username is something that you know, something that you possess. Okay, so I have with me, I was trying to tell you earlier about a security key that I have that I used to manage one of my most important email addresses. So this is a security key. So even though you know my password, unless you get access to this security key and put your finger in it while it's plugged into my computer, you can never get access to my computer. So that has to do with something that you possess. Okay, then lastly, something that you are. So something that you are, you probably set the multi-factor authentication using your eye. Okay, or maybe you set it up using your voice, or maybe you set it up using your thumbprint. So let's quickly move ahead. So in Azure, we have what they call AAD, Azure Active Directory. So it's Microsoft Azure's a cloud-based identity and access management service. Okay, so it helps with the authentication of employees to sign in to a resource. So just imagine you having like 5,000 employees. Okay, trying to use a resource. How do you identify who who has legitimate access or not. So you need something that will help to make identifying who has access, or who should be there, or who should not be there, or who should use a particular thing at a particular time. So you need Microsoft Active Directory is what yeah, it's what is used for that. So it's also used for single sign-on, okay, where you don't need to, I'm sure that you've all used single sign-on before. Okay, so especially if the account is federated, you use one email address. You don't need to. You use it to sign into all the accounts. You don't need to change password because you are going to use another resource that belongs to that company. So it's also used for application management. We can see that it has B2B, okay, and B2C, okay, identity service. It can also be used for device management as well. So let's move forward and see what other surprises that Module 5 has for us. So we also have what they call conditional access. So conditional access is used by Azure Active Directory to bring signals together in order to make decisions and enforce organizational policy. So I'd like you to take note of two very important things: signals and decisions. Okay, so it means that, because I'm sure that you've come into situations where only members of a particular group are given a permission to use a certain item. So we all are IT staff, IT professionals, and I'm sure that you've had situations where you get placed into a group, and so that other people that are non-users, non-group members cannot access a particular resource. Okay. Also, I'd like to also IP locations. Okay, so you can also use IP location as a conditional access, where you say that, okay, only people with this certain IP can access this item. Okay, so device, application, and also risk. So the diagram is very clear. You can see how conditional access works. Okay, so you are a member of a group, or you have the correct IP address, you have the correct device that has been set up for that service, you have the application that has been set up for that service installed in your phone. You can access the particular resource. So let's move quickly ahead. So okay, at this very point, we're going to do a walkthrough, and we're going to look at the Azure portal and see how to manage roles in Azure. So I'm just going to open my Azure portal. Okay, so I'm going to open my Azure portal.azure.com. So there's a reason why I decided to sign in from the beginning, so that you see MFA. So this is how MFA works. I've clicked on it, and it's asking me to request, is asking me for, yes. So you've just had my phone made that, it has sent a token to my phone. Yeah, that sent a notification to my phone, so I need to click on it in order to approve, so which I'm doing right away. Just give me a few minutes. Trying to do it right. Okay, so from the phone, from the device, it has been set up. So if you listen to the previous slide, can you tell me what is this something that you have, or something that you are, or something that you know? So what category does this fall under? I want to see your answers in the chat window. Okay, so next we're going to create a resource group. So I have so many resource groups, but I'm just going to create a new one. So if you're following the walkthrough, I'd like you to just create a resource group. Okay, so create a resource group. So I have so many, but so that everything is so you see everything is in order, that everything is not difficult. So I'm going to create a new one. Let me just call it Saturday. Okay, no, let me just call it Day 5 Dinner. Okay, I don't know if I'm supposed to have, yeah, it's correct. So I'm just going to review and create. I'm going to create it straight away. So our resource group has been created. We're going to go there. So what I'm interested in is this access control. So let's click on access control. So we've been asked to assign a role. So the best way to do that is, okay, it's taking a while to come up. Okay, so I'm going to add a role. Oh, okay, I can click row assignment as well. Okay, row assignment. Let's see what's in row assignment. As you can see, okay, so I have other roles that are already there. So I'm going to remove them and make sure it's only one. Oh, okay. Okay, so for now you can only see security reader. Okay, so I'm going to add another row. So let's click on this, add a row. Okay, so what I'm interested in adding is virtual machine contributor. So I'm going to put virtual machine contributor. Virtual machine contributor. So virtual machine contributor lets you manage classic virtual machines but not to access them. So assuming that you have a certain number of people in a department and you want to make sure that a certain individual is not given privileged access to do what he's not supposed to do, so you just want him to manage a classic manage a virtual machine, but he cannot access them, he cannot change anything, just you can assign him this role. So let's just select this, let's click on next. Okay, so the particular person you can just select from the members in the group. Okay, so you can just select a particular individual. So here in this account, as you can see that I have about 1 2 3 4 5, I have 5 individuals including myself. So I'm just going to choose this. Okay, I'm going to select, so I'm going to give a description, virtual machine contributor. Okay, so I'm going to assign, okay, so yeah, I'm going to assign it. So as you can see that we've successfully created a virtual machine contributor. So let's just, okay, you can see that in role assignment is already showing. Okay, so let's check the activity log, see if it's gonna come up. Okay, so I don't know why it's not coming up. It's supposed to show here that we've added a virtual machine contributor, but anyways, so that's how to assign a role. Okay, and we can easily remove, okay, no, we're interested in this, just this. Okay, so that's how to assign a role. Okay, so it's here, so we can easily, wait, I thought I assigned a row just now. The number of row assignment. Okay, rows. Wait. What happened? I'm surprised I can't find it. So if you're having any little issues, okay, the role was added successfully. Okay, so Mr. Akbara was added as a classic virtual machine contributor. So I'm surprised why it's not showing here. Probably my settings somehow. Okay, but we added a row. Okay, and yeah, so that's that. So that's that. So I hope that you understand how to add a row, virtual machine contributor. Okay, so this was what we selected. We gave it a name. We selected a member. We selected this guy. Okay, so he's okay. We selected this guy. So I don't know why. So okay, review, assign. Okay, it failed because it already exists. Okay, so it already exists. Someone already exists as a virtual machine contributor. So that is that. Okay, so I hope that you understand it. So let's quickly move forward. Okay, so this was what I was trying to get. So it has shown up. So earlier on, when I tried to click on it, I didn't see it. So that's why I went back to, I wanted to try to recreate it again. So we can easily remove the person. Look at, we've refreshed, it's still there. So when the person is done with the job or you want to put someone else, you can just come here and remove the person. Okay, so he has been, we're talking about authentication and authorization. So that person was authorized and authenticated for, virtual machine contributor role. So let's move ahead and see what other things that the chapter has for us. So okay, so we're going to describe the features and functionality of role-based access control. We're going to talk about resource logs. We're going to talk about tags, policy blueprints, and the cloud adoption framework. So what is role-based access control? So it's a fine-grained access management. Okay, so we just saw what we did earlier on. So we granted access to a certain individual that is in a member of that group. Okay, we granted him access to be a virtual machine contributor. So we kind of segregated that duty within the team and make sure that only what he's assigned to do, that's the only thing that he needs to focus on. Okay, so that's what role-based access control is just all about. So it enables access to Azure portal, controlling access to resources. So you see users, okay, like we selected a particular user from a group, or this can also be done for apps as well. Okay, so I hope that you get the message clear. And if it's still a little bit daunting, I'd like you to go back to Azure portal and just try out the little exercise that we just did together. Create a role, okay? Give him virtual machine contributor and see how that goes, okay? Thank you, and let's move forward. Okay, so next we're going to be looking at resource lock. So resource lock helps you to protect your Azure resources from accidental deletion or modification. So you can manage resource lock at the subscription, resource group, or individual resource level within Azure portal. So there are two different types of lock. Cannot delete. Okay, so when you put lock cannot delete on a resource, it means that no matter what, nobody will have that ability to delete that resource. Okay, we also have another type of lock. It's read only, means that you are only meant to read what is there. You cannot update it, and also you cannot delete it. So let's move forward and see. Okay, let's go back to the Azure portal. We're going to create a resource group, add a lock to it. We're going to try to delete something. We're going to add a resource to prevent deletion. Okay, we're going to delete a member of the resource group. Yeah, so let's try that out. So okay, so back to Azure portal. Okay, so this was the resource group that I created earlier, so I don't need to create another one. So if you look on the left hand side, you will see from the settings menu, you see deployment, security policy, properties, and locks. So I'm just going to click on locks. So I'm just going to click on lock. I'm going to create a lock. I'm going to call it day 5. Okay, so because this is day 5. So if you look at the right hand side of this, we have two types of lock here: read only and delete. Okay, so the instruction said we should choose delete, so cannot delete. So I'm just going to put a note. Okay, so we've successfully created a resource. No, we have successfully created a lock. So now we're going to go back to the main menu and create any resource and add that lock to it. Okay, so one of the easiest resources to create would be a storage account. So I'm going to put storage. Okay, so this is our storage account. We're just going to go with the default. We'll give it a name. Let's call it yes storage. Okay, mind you, the names are random, so don't take it too serious. When you're creating your own, you can just give it any name you want to give. It's fine. We are just interested in making sure that there's a little issue. I have to add that resource to the resource group where there is a lock. Okay, so the resource group that I created a lock in is day 5 dinner. Okay, that's the name of the resource group. Okay, so I have to create this resource in that resource group. So let's review and create. So it's taking a while. Let's just wait for it. Okay, so the deployment is complete. So let's just go to let's just go and open the storage account that we created. So remember, we created the storage account inside a resource group that has this policy that everything there cannot be deleted. So let's try to delete. You see, I just click on delete. It said yes, storage can't be deleted because this resource or its parents has a delete lock. So locks must be removed before this resource can be deleted. So I hope that you got the idea that if you add a lock to a resource group, everything that you create in that resource group cannot be tampered with. So the instruction for the walkthrough says that after we test deleting, we should go back and remove the lock and try again. So I'm going to just go back. Okay, I'm going to delete the lock. So this is the lock. Okay, refresh. So I'm going to just delete the lock. So I've removed the lock. So let's try again to delete the resource group and see if we'll be able to. Let's try again to delete the storage account to see if we'll be able to delete it this time. Yes, storage. Yes, storage. Okay, so it's been, as you can see, it's the delete process is, yeah, validation is successful. We don't have any issues. The storage account has been deleted. So at this point, we fulfilled all the requirements for that particular walkthrough. So let's move ahead with, so we created a resource group. Okay, so we added a resource lock to it. So we actually used a previous resource group from the previous walkthrough. Okay, so we added a lock to it. We tested a member of the resource group. We created a storage account, added it to the resource group. Okay, it told us that we cannot delete it because there is a lock on the resource group. So we removed the lock and tried again, and it was successful. So I hope that you understand what we just did. But if you're still a little bit confused, I'd like you to pause the video and go back and try before continuing. So at this point, we have another very interesting item to work with. It's called tags. Okay, so I'm sure that you've had an experience where or maybe you might have seen at the airport when you're traveling, especially when you have a lot of luggages, your bags and luggages will stay in a different compartment. If the flight is a very long flight, like I schooled in Australia, and from here to Australia can even take you even a day and a half, especially if the transit time is long. Okay, so just imagine you will not see your bags, okay, for over 24 hours if you have a long transit period. So so when you finally get to where you're going to, how do they recognize, how do they know that the bags belong to you? They know that the bags belong to you because on every of the luggage, or every of the bag, there is a tag with your name and the flight number with the flight details. Okay, flight number, flight time, flight details, everything on that tag that has been attached to that bag. As it is in real life with airlines, that's how it is with the cloud. Okay, so tags provide metadata for your Azure resources. So they logically organize resources into a taxonomy. Okay, they consist of key value pair, name value pair. What is a key value pair? Say name, Raphael, city, Abuja. That's an example of key value pair. So you can look at the screen for this one, this example. Owner is Joe. His department where he's working is the marketing department. Okay, which area, which environment is he focused on? Is this work focused on? Okay, it's production environment. So we can see that tags usually they consist of key value pairs. So let's move ahead. Okay, so at this very point, we're going to go back to Azure Portal. We're going to create a policy assignment that requires a tag, and we're going to okay, so we create a policy assignment that requires a tag, create a storage account that requires a tag as well, view all the resources and delete. So let's try and see how this works. Okay, so just gonna click on Azure Portal. Okay, so go here we're going to look for policy because we were asked to create a policy assignment. So just type policy in the search bar and click on policy. Policy is going to come out. Okay, so it's taking a while. So remember, we were asked to create a policy assignment. Okay, so I just need you to click on policy. Okay, so we're asked to assign a policy, remember? So click on this. Okay, so your scope, your exclusion. So we're gonna click on this one, which is basics. Okay, the definition. So wait a while for this to pop up, but we are interested in tags. Okay, so I'm just gonna type tag here. Okay, so as you can see from the screen, because I put tag in the search bar, it has brought the closest suggestion. So this second one is saying require a tag and its value on resources. So we're just going to click on it and select. Okay, so we've selected that. Okay, so we're just going to parameters. Okay, so we've, yeah, a required tag. So parameters, maybe I'm going to give it a company name. I'll call it Azure Dinner. So we've created a policy that says that we require a tag on resources that have been created as the instruction says. So we're just going to quickly go ahead and create the policy. So you see that we have a default policy here. So we've added require a tag and its value on resources. Okay, so it's the scope is on all resources in the subscription. Okay, so it affects everything in the subscription. So let's just go back and create a storage account as we were asked to do. So I have some other ones before. I'm just going to create a new one. So okay, so we don't care the resource group that we use because the scope is on the whole subscription. So everything created in the subscription is going to be affected. So let's, okay, but as a good practice, I like using October workload. So I'm going to put the name of my storage account as Dinner Storage. Okay, it's a random name anyway. So let's see. So okay, so I've had that name before. Okay, so remember that it says every resource that is created must have a tag, but this one I didn't add any tag. So let's see what's going to happen. So unless I add a tag, the operation is not going to the thing is not going to successfully create. So it has validated though, but let's just see what's going to happen. Let's wait for it. As you can see, the deployment failed. Okay, so let's click and see the details. It's clear. It said the dinner storage, okay, was disallowed by policy. Okay, yeah, so you see the policy that we created made it possible for this deployment not to go through. So the only way it can go through is if we add a tag. So let's redeploy it. And I'd like you to take note that when you're redeploying a resource, it's going to be a custom template. Okay, so I'm not seeing tag here. So if I see tag, I'll proceed. If I don't see tag, I'm just going to, yeah, so I think I'm going to just ignore it and create a fresh one because I'm not seeing tags. So let's create a new one. October workload. I'm gonna call this dinner storage. Dinner storage with double E. Okay, with another E or triple E. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly go to tags and add a tag. So I'm gonna call it I'm gonna call it yeah, the one I added at the policy. Okay, no, there's this. Oh, maybe I'm just gonna add a file tag. Okay, so yeah, so let's see. Okay, so I specified a particular value. So if this does not create, I'm gonna go back and add that value. I think I added dinner storage, if I'm correct. Okay, so it must be that particular one. Uh-oh, I forgot the tag that I used. Shit. For the in the policy. So let's just go back to the policy, okay? Sorry guys. Policy, require a tag. Okay, let me just edit it. Oh yeah, this is okay. Azure Dinner. Okay, so Azure Dinner. So I'm gonna cancel it. I don't need to do anything. So I'm just gonna create a storage account again. So because I specified the parameter, so the policy, the tag must be that parameter. So it can be anyone though. Okay, so here has to be Azure Dinner. So I have to type company, value has to be Azure Dinner. So if I had left it blank, I believe I can choose anyone. So basic, something wrong with basics, nothing, I believe. Okay, name, Raphael E. Okay, this is random. Okay, so we're just gonna go. We're just going to. So we fill out the requirement. So we added the tag to this one. So this should create. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to follow through. Okay. So I don't just want you to listen. I want you to go to Azure portal and try to do the same things that I did, so that you get the same results. So let's see. Okay. So I think everything is different. Okay. Deployment is in progress, and the deployment is definitely going to succeed because we use the tag following the parameters that we specified during the creation of the policy. So ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the deployment is complete. Okay, so let's just go to it. So I hope that at this point you understand what we're trying to talk about. So you see it here, the tag companies Azure Dinner. Okay, so let's go to policy. We were asked to delete the policy after we finish. Okay, so if you delete the policy, you won't have that issue anymore. So okay, whether you add a tag, you don't add a tag, your resource is going to create. So I hope that at this point you understand the importance of policy with regards to your Azure resources. So let's just move forward. So we created a policy, we created a storage account, we viewed our resources with, okay, so we did, yeah, we saw that we could not create without the tag. Okay, we went back, we added the tag, it went through, and we deleted the assignment later on. So let's move ahead. So on Azure policy, everything that we did in the previous exercise is just talking about Azure policy. So Azure policy helps you to enforce organizational standards and to assess compliance at scale. Okay, they provide governance, resource consistency with regulatory compliance, security costs, and management. Okay, so they help you to evaluate and identify Azure resources that do not comply with your policies. Okay, so they also provide built-in policy and initiative definition under categories such as storage, networking, compute security, and even monitoring. Okay, so let's soldier on and see what other surprises this module has for us. Okay, so at this point we're going to create a policy. Okay, we're going to test allowed location policy, and we're going to delete afterwards. So let's so I'd like you to pause the video, go back to Azure portal, and follow everything that I'm going to do so that you see how policy, okay, this place is just trying to tell us that if we create a policy saying that, okay, put resources in only one particular location, that if you try to create in other locations, it's going to throw an error. Okay, so this is actually very important, especially if you want to make sure that your organization, things are done in a proper way, and if things are not done carelessly, you don't want to deploy resources in the wrong places, because like we were saying in module number 6, the location where you put your resources can even affect the cost. So that's why it would be good to create a policy that specifies which location to even deploy resources to. So let's move ahead and see what let's go to Azure portal and try and work this out. So again, it says that we should work with policy. So we're gonna, this time around, we're gonna work with policy definition. So allowed locations. So remember, the previous one was a policy assignment. This one is policy definition. So let's just give it some little minute. So just type in the search bar allowed locations. Allowed locations, so that we can use a policy that has already been defined for us already, so we don't have to. So let's just click on allowed locations. Okay, so we can see okay, we're not going to do anything. We just selected it. We're just going to assign it. Yes, we're going to assign it. So we've assigned it. Just going to click on the parameters. Remember that what we want resources to be deployed only to certain locations. So assuming that we want the resources to be deployed only to Japan, so that's what we selected as a parameter. So we're just going to create. This means that anytime someone deploys resources to a place that is other than Japan, is going to throw an error. So let's just create. Okay, so let's create. It's I don't know why the button is stiff. Maybe I'm going to cancel it and choose another location. I don't know why that location is stiff. So let's say okay, so we selected all locations except South Africa. So let's just see what's going to happen. Okay, so I don't know why this is happening. Okay, so it's stiff. Okay, so I figured out that it's stiff because I did not select the scope. So the scope is, it should affect all the locations. Okay, no, it should affect the whole subscription. So I'm gonna go back, select the parameter as Japan. Okay, Japan. Okay, so let's try to create. So now it's working. So you need to okay, so the policy assignment succeeded. Okay, so let's go back to, so we have, I think I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to delete this one because I selected I'm going to delete this one. Okay. Okay, so what this does for you, create a resource group, resource. So except the location that you selected, you're not going to be able to create in any other place. So assuming you want to create in US East, is not going to work. So let's just give it a random name. It won't work. Okay, basic what's basics. Okay, name has been, okay, so the name is an issue. So let's review again. Okay, so it's running longer because it's trying to see. Okay, so let's create. Again, it's going to fail because we want resources to be deployed to only specific locations, and the one US East has not been selected as one of them. You see, resource failed because of the policy. So let's just move ahead and soldier on, because we have so many other things to talk about. Oops, sorry. Okay, we stopped here. So we stopped here. So we have so many other things to talk about. So we're just gonna continue with the class. So Azure blueprints make it possible for development team to rapidly build and stand up new environment. Okay, the development team can quickly build trust through organizational compliance with a set of built-in components such as networking in order to speed up development. So a blueprint would already have all the policies and compliance things that you need to work with inside it, so that you don't have to stress yourself with any other thing anymore. So let's move ahead. So I'm sure that if you as a cloud professional, you would at the point we want to talk about migrating to the cloud with one or two persons. So Microsoft has a framework which people that have used and done the same thing have written. So yeah, there's a framework to use. It has best practices from Microsoft employees, partners, and customers, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You follow their strategies and you can do things the right way they are supposed to do. So as you can see from the screen, in the framework you have the strategy, you have the migration plan, you have you show you how to manage, how to plan, how to innovate, how to get ready, and lastly, how to govern the environment and the workload that you're working on. So at this point, we're going to look at the next part of the lecture. So what is security, privacy, and compliance? So security by design, okay, everything in Microsoft is secured by design. That's built-in intelligence security. Microsoft helps you to protect against unknown and unknown cyber threats using automation and artificial intelligence. So for privacy, Microsoft is committed to ensuring that the privacy of organizations through contractual agreements, and they also provide users with the control and transparency that they need, so that they'll always be confident in the cloud. Okay, so for compliance, Microsoft respects local laws and regulations and provide a comprehensive offering so that you will stay abreast of all that you need to work with. So for these are some examples of the compliance that you're going to find in Microsoft Cloud. So CGIS, HIPAA, CSA Star certification, ISO 1EC 27018, EU model clauses, and also the NIST. Okay, so Microsoft provides the comprehensive set of compliance offering, okay, for any cloud provider. Okay, so we've just talked about some few ones, but there are a lot more. Okay, so what is Microsoft privacy statement? Microsoft privacy statement provides openness and honesty about how Microsoft handles the user data collected from its products and services. Okay, the privacy statement will explain what the data processes, or what data Microsoft processes, how Microsoft processes it, and what the data is being used for. So this is so transparent. Okay, so next we're going to be looking at online services term and data protection addendum. Okay, so for online services term, the licensing term defines the term and conditions for the products that you're buying online through volume licensing program. For the second one, the DPA sets forth the obligation with respect to processing and security of data and personal data in connection with online services. Trust Center. What is Microsoft Trust Center? Okay, so for Trust Center, it helps you to learn about security, privacy, compliance, policy offerings around across Microsoft Cloud products. Okay, the Trust Center provides in-depth expert information, curated list of resources, and role information, amongst other things. So I'm sure that at this point, yes, let's just take a look at the Trust Center. So okay, so it's easy. Okay, I've already opened it here. So this is okay, this one is not on the Azure portal. It's actually outside. So you can just put in Google Microsoft Trust Center. So the first suggestion that comes up that with the Microsoft email or a domain is the right one. So like what we said earlier, everything that you need to know about Microsoft with regards to the policy and everything. Okay, sorry guys for the little issues with the internet, but what I was just trying to say is that to get Trust Center, you just need to type Trust Center in Google. So it helps you, gives you in-depth information and all you need to know about Microsoft compliance offering, the laws, the data, and everything that you need to know with regards to compliance on Microsoft cloud. So you can see for the privacy, you have data management, you have GDPR, and you also have resources. For compliance, you have all the compliance offering. Let's click on compliance offering and see what it has for us. So for compliance, you have a set of Microsoft compliance offering. You have that of GDPR, Microsoft Cloud for Industries, and everything. So I'd like you to take a little minute, search in your Google, search in Google, and try to navigate this website and see all that it has for us. So okay, so at this point we're gonna go back to the PowerPoint slide. It said we should open Service Trust portal. So it's still the same thing. You can find it on Google, Service Trust portal. So just as Service Trust portal. Okay, so Service Trust portal. Okay, the next one is Compliance Manager. Compliance Manager. Okay, so Microsoft Compliance Manager. So as you can see, came out. So this is Service Trust portal. So this was what we asked to look at. So you can take a few minutes of your time to go through it and see what it's talking about. So Microsoft is interested in keeping the local laws. Microsoft does not want to break any law. Microsoft is very transparent. They will tell you how they're using your data, and so let's look at it. So I just would like you to spend 1 minute or two to have a look at all these things as the walkthrough have instructed us to. So for this one, you can see that it's a portal on its own, and it has, yeah. Okay, so it's the same thing. I'm just going to close one. We asked to delete all this policy. So after the lab, I'm going to come here and try to delete them. So I'm going to close this so that it does not distract us. I'm going to close this. Okay, so this is taking a while to load. So I hope that you're going to spend some time on it to take a look at what it's all about. Okay, but at this point, I'm going to go to another item on the slide. Okay, so the next thing that we have is Microsoft compliance documentation. Okay, it offers a comprehensive set of compliance offering to help your organization comply with national, regional, industry specific requirements that govern the collection and use of data. Okay, so whether it be global data, whether it be US government data, whether it be industry data, whether it's a regional data, Microsoft has everything for you so that you do not break any international or local law. Okay, so we're going to look at Azure sovereign region. What is an Azure sovereign region? Okay, so it meets with the security and compliance need of US federal government agency. To cut the long story short, this is a region that is meant for only US government workload. Okay, so it's a separate instance of Azure. Is physically isolated from the one we are using. The one I'm using currently and the one you're using currently is different from it. It's only accessible to screened and authorized personnel. So you can see that it meets a lot of standards that you are seeing on the screen. So let's move forward. So for Azure sovereign regions, okay, Microsoft has a public cloud provider. Microsoft has okay, another region in China. Okay, so the one in China is a physically separated instance of Azure Cloud as well. It's different from the one I'm using. It's different from the Azure government, and it's operated by a partner of Microsoft called 21 ViaNet. Okay, and this is very important because there's a law in China that says all data in China stays within China to ensure compliance. So Microsoft is very open. They do not want to break any local law, so they have created a region for Microsoft workload with regards to Chinese users. Okay, so we've come to the end of this module. So before we go off, I'd like you to answer these few questions. What is an Azure government region? Okay, there are different types of lock in Azure. What are they? We look through them. So if you're still a little bit confused, I'd like you to go back a little bit, try to attempt the walkthrough, or take a look at the notes and see what type of locks we have. We have two. What does the first one do? Okay, what is an Azure policy? We use two different policies, the one for tag, the one for location. So what do the policy do? What's an Azure policy? So how does authorization differ from authentication? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you have enjoyed today's Azure dinner. I'm going to see you tomorrow for our final module. Bye bye for now.